I think in my life, I've hired over 170 painters at this point. So I've gone through this process time and time again. The first thing I'd say that you do is just start to call out and define the ideal person that you want to work with, right? Who would be an A+ rock star that would make your life so much better and make it more fun, more enjoyable. So what are the characteristics of that person? Do they have this many years of experience? Do they have this type of character, these values? Like really just get clear on who is that person that you're going to start to attract. That's step one, because now your brain and your mind is going to be start to attune and start to look for those type of people.
When your leads are low and your sales are slow, who you gonna call? Brush Buster.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Painter Growth Podcast. My name is Jesse Tarrant. I'm one of the coaches here at Painter Growth, and we also have Gavin Simpson with us today.
Hello.
Another one of the coaches. This is one of the first episodes, I think, without Mike, so it's going to be a fun time. We're going to make it fun and exciting for you guys. It is a Brush Busters episode, so we are going to be going over letters from the listeners and helping these listeners solve their problems. Ready to rock, Gavin?
Absolutely. Let's get going.
All right. Let's start with the first letter there.
So we had this letter submitted from Lev in Toronto. Lev, if you're listening, we got your answers here for you, buddy. So he says, hey, Brush Busters. Just came across this podcast a little while ago and been finding great value in it. So thanks. I'm 3 months in doing my own jobs rather than subbing or working for a company like I did before. So congratulations on taking that leap, my man. These 3 months we've been profitable, definitely provided a lot of learning for me. I've been both producing the work and marketing, doing door-to-door. I'm now at a point where door-to-door will slow down because of the colder season, rain, and snow. I'm not sure how to handle wintertime, although I've seen your video with some tips on the topic. I'm wondering if you have any more guidance to share. Should I turn to Facebook ads, try and book work in advance for winter, while simultaneously trying to book work for the present? Or should I just give up and get in a fetal position and go back to painting by the hour while dreaming of what is possible? Lev, don't do that. Come on now. And he sent Lev sent a couple specific questions with the letter. So he said, how do we get work in wintertime? Is door-to-door the best way of marketing, or would you suggest implementing Facebook ads as soon as possible? And do you have a training about door-to-door marketing in your course? Easy one. Yes, we have tons of content and training in the Painter Growth course for door-to-door. We're big supporters of it. I've built 3 brands off of it from nothing up to multi-millions of dollars. It works. It works like a charm. But as you've already identified, there is a seasonality factor to it. Like rain, go out. You're knocking on doors. The rain's not really an excuse. Minus 40 and snow, I'd say that's probably a bit of a limit. Yeah, how to get work in wintertime. So you have a bunch of questions here. Ultimately, I wouldn't say there's going to be one silver bullet. Typically, we suggest stacking several forms of marketing on one another. So yeah, absolutely have some sort of online marketing going. So Facebook ads, you could do some Google pay-per-click ads. Personally, I think your best bet for getting leads in the wintertime is door-to-door as long as possible, for sure. Right up to the point where it's like physically not possible, like you're shoveling snow out of people's driveway to get to their door. Pre-book work, absolutely. Just educate customers. Hey, if you're not in a rush for this, are you okay with us doing this in November, December? It'll help me keep my guys busy in our slower season. I can give you maybe a small discount or something like that. That worked really well for my business. And I think lastly, strategic partners. So finding people in your network, reaching out to other businesses that could provide leads, such as interior designers, housekeepers, right? Like I'm a big fan of like reaching out to local cleaning companies, partly because I've owned a cleaning company and I know the volume of clients that we deal with because it's a small average job size. And if you have a good agreement with them, they can feed you leads. So that's where I would start. What about you, Jesse?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with all of that. And yeah, first and foremost, Lev, congrats on switching over from subbing from other painting contractors to doing your own work. That's a huge shift. I had a subcontractor that worked for me for just over 3 years, and then he moved provinces, decided to set up his own shop, and it really hit him of it's a lot different than when we would show up on the site and I'd say, hey, here's the contract, here's the price, do you want this job or not? And he had to learn how to actually, get the lead and then sell the customer. And he's like, he appreciated the previous 3 years a lot more once he went out
behind the curtain.
Yeah. Once he actually had to go out and get his own work. So I know that transition is huge. A big thing with interior and seasonality, and where I live as well, we have seasonality aspects of it. I'm in Canada, so pretty much as soon as the end of July hits, is our focus is really starting to shift all of our marketing to interior, right? So we're going to run specific niche flyers that say we're the interior specialists, and we're starting to pre-book out all of that work, right? And the other thing to be aware of as well, and I know that you're just getting into it in 3 months, but as your company matures and as you go along, is when you have interior jobs that come in throughout the summer, is I will do whatever I can to push those back and say, hey, our interior season is actually between October and March, and I'll book them in one of those slots rather than getting and producing that job in the summer. So I started to create a bit more of a backlog there. And then, like Gavin said, you can once we start to run our initial campaigns near the end of July, we start to offer a little bit of an incentive to pre-book out that interior season to keep our guys busy. And so that's a strategy to start to pre-book out that interior season. And generally, our rule of thumb that we like to say here at Painter Growth, you want to be about 4 to 6 weeks booked out. That's kind of a sweet spot where you're not like, hey, how do I get work tomorrow? And you're not pushing customers way back. So if you start to get over that amount, you're going to want to start to add capacity and production capacity with subcontractors or internal painters. But that 4 to 6 weeks is really your target there. Now, how to actually get the work, like Gavin said, your best bang for your buck. Big fan of door to door, but I would just make sure that you know the area that you're going to, and that those homes are at a time that they're ready for interior painting. Most of the interior painting we do, it's houses that were built about 10 to 20 years ago, and they're all these dark browns colors, and everybody wants to go to grays, whites, and blues right now. And so it's finding those pockets of customers that they're going to want to update their colors, and then really hyper focus on those pockets. Don't just randomly say, hey, I'm going to go to this random neighborhood and go out. If you don't have any information or data about that neighborhood, then it's going to be a bit of a slog and a bit of a struggle. So really know the neighborhoods that you're going to, and then and the big thing on door to door too, I think a lot of people think, oh, it's taboo or it's old school and whatnot. I know you're from Canada, Lev, so you'll know this, that the biggest communication companies in Canada, TELUS and Rogers, like every single day where I live, I see their teams out going door to door, getting customers every single day. And I'm like, if the two of the biggest companies in Canada are doing this every single day, why, as small business owners, would we not be deploying this one strategy? Yeah. Right. And sorry, I'll wrap up, and then Gavin, you can jump in. Facebook ads. If you don't know what you're doing, you could just be throwing the money down the hole, right? And those are generally top of the funnel leads, which means that people are scrolling. They're not really like that interested in painting, come across it. So again, if you really got to know what you're doing on that end, if you have Google Local Services or Google Ads, it's a little bit better, but you're really better off of targeted flyers, targeted signs in neighborhoods that are going to be needing interior painting, and then deploy 1 to 2 guys to go knock on those doors.
Yeah. And in my mind, the reason door to door is so effective for 2 reasons is there is a bit of for the most part, a mental barrier there that a lot of people don't want to do it. So if you're willing to do something that 80%, 90% of other business owners are not willing to do, just because it makes them feel uncomfortable, you're instantly going to get farther ahead than them, which is a massive benefit to you, obviously. Secondly, you're actually controlling your lead flow. You're not just putting ads out there and just waiting for your phone to ring. Door to door, it boils down to like a math equation eventually. Like once you have some data of like how many leads you get an hour, how many leads you get per, 100 door hangers going out, it literally turns into a math equation of like, I need 40 leads this month. How many hours of door knocking do I need to do? Okay, I need 65 hours or 50 hours of door knocking. Okay, how do I get those door knocking hours in? Is it me or do I need to hire someone? Like it literally turns your business growth into like a very, very simple math equation. And it capitalizes on all of your other marketing because you're actually going out there and scooping up the leads that are just below the surface. Like you may have your signs, your Facebook ads, your flyers, they may like get people thinking about painting, but most people put off calling a contractor for various reasons. People naturally procrastinate. They don't want to deal with a salesperson. They don't want to deal with a contractor, like all that type of thing. So the whole idea with door to door is we're eliminating that barrier and that pain point, and we're just making their life easy. And we're just scooping up all of those leads that you've created that you just haven't called you yet. So
love it. And let's say one other thing here too is that since you're only 3 months into getting your own work and whatnot in the winter, don't be afraid if you go you can do subcontract work for other painting companies that have that work already through the winter, and you don't have to do it at an hourly rate. Negotiate an actual contract price for it so that you can up how much you're making per hour. And if you need to do that to keep yourself busy and keep cash coming in the winter, that's a great option. The next level of that is going to like GCs or finding apartment buildings that continually need repaints done because tenants are moving in and out, in those type of contracts to keep yourself super busy. So there's a lot of different options here. It's just you got to pick and choose where you're going to focus, and in the winter too. I don't know about you guys, but I like to take at least take a month or two off because I know that it's as soon as January hits for us, it's like we're so full on marketing and pre-booking out the summer, and it's like January till end of October. It's really full on. So don't as long as you're in a position to do so, don't be afraid to take a little bit of time off and just rest because once January 1st hits, it's go time. Totally.
And you'd be surprised, like if you have a team too, they probably want some time off. Just have those conversations with people. For a long time, I was stuck in this mindset of like, we have to keep our guys busy all the time. They can't afford or they don't want to have time off. But in reality, they are stoked to have like 6 weeks off. Like most jobs don't offer that, right? So, and then they just come back when in the new year, right? So it buys you some time to start building up that backlog in the next year and gives you some breathing room to recharge.
Awesome. All right, I think we crushed that one. So Lev, hopefully that helps you, and keep plugging away. Let's go on to the next letter here. So this is from Jason from Alberta. He says, "Hey coaches, I signed a contract with a homeowner this week to start a job at the end of August. The thing is that I perceived a weird attitude. Like she did not provide me with her real name. Red flag. She said she would pay the deposit and made excuses not to do it. Another red flag. And she is just tough to deal with in general. Okay, another red flag. Anyway, I told her over the email text message that we could not work together. Great job, Jason. Because we do not understand each other. And now since she has my information and the name of the company, she said that she'll report to the police and sue me, plus leave me a bad review on Google if I don't do this job. Any suggestions of what I should do? Because I don't want to go paint her house. Thanks in advance. Jason from Alberta." So that's a loaded situation there. Gavin, you want to start?
Yeah. I mean, sounds like you dodged a bullet by not doing this job. So well done. It is totally okay to fire customers and just not do their job, especially if they've never even given you a deposit. Like you have no obligation ever to do work for someone. And just the amount of red flags that are like super obvious, you did the right thing. So, yeah, like stick to your guns. Don't worry about a threat someone's not going to go to the hassle of actually suing you. There's also like, like I'm not a legal expert, just to be very clear here, but I don't see any grounds to sue you for any wrongdoing. Like she didn't even give you a deposit or her real name. And I see this often. I've experienced this often. Customers just holding a review over your head, whether they're just kind of like threatening or like, suggesting they're going to leave you a bad review to try and get you to do extra work, or that's just their way of like trying to get a conflict resolved. It's not okay. Just know, in the grand scheme of things, in the long term in your business, one bad review is not going to make or break your business. Don't let someone hold that over you. Obviously do everything you can to get good reviews, but
and just one note on that too is that if they haven't actually used your company and they leave your review, you can just report that to Google.
You can report that review. Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And like most people they can't like these types of people leave a very specific type of review. The more reasonable people in society, they know these types of people. They've had to deal with them, and they can kind of sense that, right? It's just like if you ever do work for a strata or like a HOA, and you get a complaint, and you bring it up to the head of the HOA or strata, they already know who that complaint's coming from, right? It's the same types of people over and over again. So I wouldn't stress. You did the right thing. Stick to your guns and don't put any more effort and energy into it and time, because you can just be putting all of that time and effort into getting a new job with a customer that loves you and will promote your business.
Yeah, 100%. I'll tell a story of back in 2015 when I was starting my painting company. I was willing to take on any job, any work. I was like, I'll do it no matter what, right? Customer's always right. And I remember this one lady, older lady, went to do the estimate. In my gut, my intuition was like, this is not going to be a great situation. But at the time, I was just like, I got to book work. I got to do it. And so I ended up taking on the job, and she chose the colors and everything. And then we painted, the first quote and whatnot. And she asked me to come to her house that night. She said the color was wrong. And she stood about 2 feet away from me. And I think I was, how old was I at the time? Like 20. And she stands like 2 feet away, and she's just cursing and screaming and yelling at my face. And I'm just sitting there like, taking it and listening. And I just remember thinking, I'm like, yeah, I don't get paid enough for this. And I remember I had a few experiences like that, especially in my first couple summers where, again, I was just willing to take on anything. When it really shifted for me was, I think it was in my third year, where I decided that if I noticed any sort of red flag, I know how much extra work, like Gavin said, how much extra work that's going to require for me in the long haul, and how much time I'm going to waste dealing with this customer. And what's the opportunity cost of that, right? Mm-hmm. So if I have this customer where a normal customer, if you set up your crew and, maybe it takes you 5 hours total to set up your crew and organize that. But a difficult customer, could be 40 to 60 hours of your time, right? What else could I be doing in that extra 40 to 60 hours that I'm otherwise going to waste on this super difficult customer? And that 40 to 60 hours is a huge opportunity cost when when you really know what you're doing, and that 40 to 60 hours could be 20 other estimates. And, if you book 7 of them, that could be another $50,000 that you're not booking because you're dealing with this tricky customer.
Yeah. Like, not even to mention like how they suck your energy and your motivation, right? Like you can't really quantify that, but it's a thing. Like I've had to deal with terrible customers, and like the entire week I'm just like, dreading going back there to try and resolve it. It just sucks the energy out of you. Like your energy, like you got to protect that as a business owner. Super, super important, because it's really hard to lead effectively if you don't have energy and you got someone else on your mind. That's the biggest one. It's really hard to sell, which impacts selling, jobs and selling in recruiting. So yeah, like you got to protect that energy. So well done for not doing that job.
Yeah. Well done. All right, let's go on to the next one.
All right. So we have another letter here from Greg in Tennessee. He is a one-man show. So he says, right now, I'm on a spot where I feel like I'm constantly putting out fires. The demands of the business are overwhelming, and I find myself juggling multiple tasks simultaneously, including painting. I recognize that hiring a crew is essential to allow me to focus on the bigger picture, but it just feels hard for me to even start to line up the process to do that, if that makes sense. Yeah, totally makes sense. How can I leave my old ways behind and start to build a team and therefore be more organized and a more profitable company? I think that's a very relatable situation to at least many of our clients in Painter Growth. It's we're working towards the first time they're getting off the tools, which is a massive, massive step. And it's very, very difficult. Well, it can be, but it doesn't have to be. It's more of like a mental difficulty. You got to take that leap, and once you do, it'll be like a big aha moment. But let's give you some tactical advice. Jesse, do you want to start?
Yeah. So yeah, getting off the tools, right? You've been painting for a long time. That's just your way of doing things, and change is hard no matter what you're doing, right? So, but it's really just shifting in a mindset and understanding what is possible when you do get off the tools and where you spend that time as a business owner. But when you're this close to the problem, for those who can't see me, like you can only see barely a half a step in front of you. It's really hard to try to get organized and whatnot. So if you're on the tools right now, just expand your time horizon a little bit, right? And you don't have to get off the tools today, but say, hey, if I could get off the tools and have painters within the next 8 weeks, okay, how would I do that? And give yourself enough time to actually start to think about what the process would be to do that. I think when a lot of people decide that they want to get off the tools, they immediately just like panic and say, okay, I just got to get one person, and they have no process. They're not following anything. They're just trying to get that person hired as quickly as they can. And then ultimately they're going to make a bad hire. They're going to make mistakes. That painter's not going to be very good. And they're going to say, why did I even do this in the first place? And then they're going to stay stuck on the tools again and again, right?
There's no good people.
Yeah, there's no good people. So first and foremost would be establishing that longer time horizon to give yourself a little bit of breathing room, right? To know that, we don't have to do it today. You don't have to do it tomorrow. But if you did this within 8 weeks, that'd be fantastic. Then you want to start to say, what I would start if you're on the tools already and you're just a one-man show is to start with one painter to help you out. Mm-hmm. Right? Like just get one really, really good painter to go through that process, because the first time you do it, you're going to make mistakes and you're going to learn from it. And you just got to do it over and over and over again. I think in my life, I've hired over 170 painters at this point. So I've gone through this process time and time again. The first thing I'd say that you do is just start to call out and define the ideal person that you want to work with, right? Who would be an A+ rock star that would make your life so much better and make it more fun and more enjoyable. So what are the characteristics of that person? Do they have this many years of experience? Do they have this type of character, these values? Like really just get clear on who is that person that you're going to start to attract. That's step one, because now your brain and your mind is going to start to attune and start to look for those type of people. But a lot of people don't skip this step, and they'll say, kind of similar to the last question you said, they'll take any job. I'll just take any job. And a lot of people, I just need a painter. I'll just take a painter, any painter, right? And any painter, the spectrum of what a painter is so wide. It's like, but for you and your company, what is an ideal painter? What would be a phenomenal painter? What would change your life? What painter would completely change your life, right? So getting really clear on what that person looks like. Then you're naturally going to just start looking for it, but then you want to write a job description up. So what is that painter actually going to do? What are they going to be responsible for? And then you can use that job description to make an actual job posting, okay? And you can actually put it out to the world that you're hiring, right? And in my company, we're always hiring, right? And a reason why we do that is because even if our team is full, if Gavin's running a painting company in a different province or something, and he has an awesome painter, and that painter decides they're going to move out to where I'm living, and if I'm not advertising for that role, I might miss a rock star painter that Gavin has trained. And so what I always tell everyone is like, no matter where you're at, always have ads up for painters,
have
always have ads up for subcontractors, right? At any given moment, I can open up my inbox and I got about 55 applicants for subcontractors. We're totally full right now, but that just keeps people going, and you never know who you're going to meet in that end. So once you have the job descriptions, you post it out there. I always put a Google form on our application, and then that way it weeds out a lot of people that aren't going to be a good fit. So they have to get past these deal breakers. After those people, I give them a call, and we go through a process to set up that interview and to make sure that they're actually passing all the minimum qualifiers that I have, right? Then you sit down, have a coffee with them, go through the interview process. And then at the end of the interview is half interviewing and half selling, right? So it's like you really understanding about them, understanding their needs, where they're at. Then you sell the position in your company of why would somebody work for you? It's another part of it is like, why is your company the best person to work with? There's hundreds, if not thousands, of other painting companies out there, and thousands and tens of thousands of other companies out there. Why are people going to work for you? And you got to know that going into the interview so that you can actually sell the position. Then going deeper into the interview process and making sure that
when you jump in super quick, particularly for top performers. Top performers, people who are great communicators, they're great painters, they show up on time, they're reliable, they care, they have options. Everyone wants them, right? So you got to do all of this quickly. You can't just get an applicant and just leave them for 2 weeks. You got to do all of this very, very quickly. And yeah, you got to make them want to work with you specifically and sell their role, like Jesse's saying. If someone's desperate for a job, probably an indicator that they're not a top performer. But yeah, thought I would just quickly jump in there.
Yeah, I love it. And that's how you're going to find those A+ rock stars. I always say A+ rock stars. We're looking for A+ people to work on your team. And okay, so now that you're through the interview process, then what we call is like conditional close. So at the end of the interview, what you say is, great, do you have any other questions about the position? Perfect. I'm going to take about 24 hours to review this. I'm going to call you at 3 p.m. tomorrow. If I were to offer you the job, would you accept it? Okay. And you want to make sure that they'll actually take it, because the worst thing you could do is leave that, call them tomorrow, and they're like, oh, I took another job. You didn't even know that was going on. So you conditionally close them and make sure they say, yes, I'm going to take that job. Once I do that, you have a full contract, right? With all the deliverables in the contract, and you sign off with them and then start their training plan. And those first 2 weeks with your new people are like really the make it or break it, right? Those first 2 weeks is going to determine, everything. And again, if you do this right, you're going to realize what's possible in just 2 weeks of your business and how much your life is going to change. So that's in terms of getting the right person. And because like right now, what it sounds like, Greg, and what I got from this letter is that you're scrambling. There's a lot going on, but you really got to be strategic about bringing people on and thinking about different ways. Mm-hmm. Another thing that we teach here at Painter Growth is all about priority management. And again, whether you're running a $100,000 company or $100 million company, everybody has 168 hours in the week. And it's really about where are you spending your time. And one of the first questions I asked, ironically, in this letter is who here feels like they've gone throughout the day or they go throughout the week and they just fought fires all day, right? Most people, resonate with that and put up their hand. But it's really understanding what are the A priorities that are going to move your business forward, and then creating your schedule so that you're knocking out those A priorities and not just getting bogged down with fighting fires all day. And you realize in 3 months you haven't really moved the business forward. But
let's quickly talk about the time aspect of this too, Jesse, because Greg's saying he's all over the place. He's on job sites. Obviously, all of that recruiting you just outlined, that is the in my experience the best way to do it, but it does take some time, right? So there's a very important time aspect to this of like, how do I do that and paint and train and do all probably some marketing and some actual business stuff. Is like there's only so much time in the day. Consistency is super important, particularly with both sales and recruiting, right? You can't just do 4 hours of recruiting one day and then just leave it for a week and then do 2 hours the next week. It's like you're not really going to get anywhere. I'm a big fan of because I've been in this situation before of, okay, I have to do something different. I have to free up some of my time. So the best way to do that is just have a conversation with your clients and just tell them, hey, Mrs. Jones, I'm only going to be able to be on, working on your project until 2:30 or 3 o'clock. The reason for this is I need to go and hire people because I'm getting really, really busy. And I want to be able to work with more clients like you and employ local people. This is my vision. This is my dream of what I'm trying to create. Is that okay? Is it okay if I leave at 3 o'clock? Like any reasonable human being is just gonna be like, yeah, that's fine. And you just tell it like the only thing that's going to happen is that it might just extend the duration of the job by a day, right? So not a big deal. Because then what you've done is you've just reclaimed 2 to 3 hours every single day for you to do all of those steps that Jesse outlined. Put together, figure out who you want to hire, put together your job posts, shortlist them, do your qualifying calls, do your interviews, because that's going to let you do your, for example, if you call a client, or sorry, not a client, a prospect, and they sound awesome, you don't want to wait a week to go interview that person. You need to do that quickly because, again, top performers, everyone's calling them, right? So you want to do that interview the next day, right? So if you only have time to recruit, you say it's Tuesday, and you only have time to recruit on the weekend, that person might have a job by the time you go and sit down with them. So you want to, just be carving time out of your schedule consistently all week. And then also take advantage of gaps in between jobs, intentionally schedule gaps in between jobs to work on like the big, other, business stuff, get caught up on some sales, like that type of thing. There's a lot of planning that goes into this. My favorite method is just like, have those conversations with the clients so they're on your side and supporting you. Don't just disappear at 3 o'clock. That's what a lot of contractors do, and that's how contractors get a bad name. Is they just like disappear, not really any communication. Customer doesn't know what's going on. Just talk to a customer like it's just a real conversation, and they will support you. And that's a really good feeling when you're painting someone's house, and they're like, "Oh, how did the interview go yesterday? I hope it goes well. Like, you guys are doing awesome." Like, that's a really cool feeling. So
awesome. Yeah, and the root of it too, just going back to the mindset around this, is you're starting to view yourself as a business owner, not just a painter, right? And one thing that really helped me in my first year was I was training crews, and I was always wearing my painter whites, and inevitably I'd hop on site and just immediately start painting or doing something. So about 2 months into it, I just started wearing really nice clothes to the job site. And then, so I wouldn't want to touch any paint in anything. And I really started to understand, I was like, hey, my role here as the business owner is to market the companies, to book the work, and it's to, set up the production and the logistics with the customers in a way that you guys can go paint. And it was a big mindset shift versus, hey, I'm just here to paint another window, right? And get this job done a little faster. It's like, no, that actually wasn't my role anymore, because my crews were trained. Everything was rocking and rolling. I had to really shift my mindset in terms of, okay, now I got to think like a business owner, not just a painter. And it's a totally different game, right? If you go back to like priority management, time blocking, your week, instead of having 40 hours of actually being on the tools on the wall, you're like, what do I do with these 40 hours now that you're not painting? And it takes a little while and a bit of an adjustment to really think through, where are you going to spend that time and to move your business forward. So anything else there, Gav?
No, I think that nailed it.
All right. Hopefully that helps, Greg. It's a really common problem, and it's a big leap. So just acknowledge it and give yourself that time and space to be able to do it, and just make sure you have a plan for it. Right.
And just know, like, it might not go well the first time. This is a new thing. Like, recruiting and leadership are like the most valuable skills you can ever have in a business. Yeah. And like, they're not quickly or easily acquired, right? Like, you got to get reps in. Don't expect your first interview to be awesome. That's probably going to be terrible. My first interview was terrible. Just like the first time you knock on a door, it is terrible. It is super hard. You're overthinking it. So just do a bunch of interviews, shake off the rust. So it doesn't matter if they're like the best quality candidates, just get that skill developed a little bit. So when an A player comes across your plate, comes across your desk, you're in a position, you're confident, and you can actually sell the role, it's not like your first interview ever, right? So I would say just go and do 5, 6, 7 interviews with people just to develop the skill. And yeah, don't worry about things going wrong. You got it.
All right, let's keep rocking. We got one more here, and then we're going to wrap up. Hi, Brush Busters. I started my painting company a year ago here in Houston, Texas. We've been doing good, but navigating a highly competitive market of a major city has been challenging. Despite our best efforts, we found it increasingly difficult to stand out from the crowd and attract new clients. I'm reaching out to seek advice on marketing strategy for our business. I'm particularly interested in learning about marketing tactics that can help us differentiate our services from the competition. That's Mark from Houston. All right, I can start with this one. I love this one because where I'm at, I won't quote the number because I don't like to quote number, and or data that might not be perfect, but there's like thousands of other painting companies where I live, right? And so, and it's probably the exact same in Houston, right? And so what I find is if you're just playing where everybody else is playing, you're essentially playing in what's called the red ocean. It's kind of a bloody, competitive bath where everybody's competing for the same jobs, right? And that's why you see on things like Google and Facebook, it's so saturated because all the painting companies are competing for the same keywords. They're competing for the same customers in those demographics. So that's why we don't even recommend starting with those tactics because there's a much better way to do this. And so I'll just give an example. Where I live, there's about 642,000 homes where I live. And we target about 15 key pockets, right? And we target 15 key pockets and we dominate those pockets. Like we own those neighborhoods, right? So the company that I started here, we started about three years ago. And within that time, we became the go-to companies in those areas, right? And so what you want to do is you want to find these key pockets of your ideal customers. We talked about, choosing the type of customers that you want. So define what type of house does the customer have that you want? What's the size of that house? What does their yard look like? What does their car look like? Really understanding those customers, and then find these small pockets and be the biggest company in these tiny pockets, right? And so those areas that we target, it's only about 5,000 homes that we target right now, and then we just and we just keep repeating this process over and over and over again.
Just to be clear on that, Jesse, out of those 15 pockets is a total of 5,000 homes, not 5,000 per 15 pocket.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
These are like super small, like they're like 300 to 500 home pockets roughly.
Yep, exactly. So the biggest thing here is, and this is applicable for pretty much every single painting company because you're going to have a ton of competition in the areas, but it's how do you I don't even see competitors in the areas we're at anymore because we pick it so small. One of my favorite things that I do in the morning, I go for a walk with my son, and I'll walk on like a one little cul-de-sac, right? And I'll quickly estimate in my head, and I'll say, okay, that house is 20K, 15K, 18K, 17K, 20K, 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 15K. And I'll quickly estimate that street of what I can see needs to be done in painting. And then I would text my manager and say, hey, this one little street here, and this little cul-de-sac right here, here's the address. I just identified 250 grand of work, like go get it. And inevitably we'd book about 60, 80K of it. So find those small pockets. I would say for most people listening on here too, it's if you're targeting a big area in your city, it's way too big. Okay, if you're targeting a smaller area in your city, it's still too big. Choose little pockets, dominate little pockets, and then build up from there. Because not only does it change your marketing, but then it affects your sales because people actually know who you are and you've been painting around the neighborhood. And the biggest one is actually affects your production. Who here listening to this right now is spending half or more of their day driving, right? And you can actually eliminate that really easily just by having a lot more targeted marketing, and it affects every level of the business. So
and it helps snowball the effects of your marketing too. Like at one point, this is very early on my first painting business. Like we just dominated this small little pocket by having all of our lawn signs, our door hangers, just hitting the same areas over and over and over again. And then we started doing jobs and getting lawn signs in front of all of those clients. homes. And then we just decided, like, people started asking, like, you guys are painting all these houses, it's crazy. I'm like, yeah, we're super busy. And I just kept booking jobs, and people kept saying this. So I'm like, what if I just started asking people to put signs in front of their houses that we didn't paint? And it got to the point we had, it's like a tiny little town, is, you know, we had like 200 lawn signs up, and we didn't even have to do any more marketing because everyone would see our lawn signs everywhere, going to and from work, going to the grocery store, just walking down the street. Pretty much every street had at least 2 lawn signs on it, and we just dominated in like my first year. So it's possible to do very, very quickly, but you got to focus super, super small and ramp the number, like your marketing efforts up. Like 200 in the grand scheme of things, like 200, 500 door hangers is not going to do a lot. Like, add some zeros behind those and get them out in the same areas over and over and over again. Because if you just, same with the direct mail, here's an example. If you send 10,000 flyers out in direct mail all at once, probably not really going to get any leads because nobody knows who you are, right? You got to stack all of this marketing on top of each other in these small neighborhoods and use those 10,000 and then put out 1,500 and then wait 3 to 4 weeks, put out another 1,500 to the same area, right? Wait 4 to 6 weeks, put out another 1,500 to the same area. And then you're going to start getting calls, particularly if you have like door knockers going out at the same time, then you're scooping up all the leads. But like, people need to see your brand over and over and over again for them to like recognize you, let alone trust you. Right. So, yeah, that's often a mistake I see people making is they spread their marketing. They're trying to cast a massive, massive wide net because they don't know who their clients are. And they think anyone with a house is a client. That's not the case. You want to find people who can afford to pay a professional painter. They have a desire to pay a professional painter. They take pride in their home. And I hope you're charging a premium quality price and being, delivering a premium quality service. So you need people who are willing to pay for premium. Those are like my ideal clients, right? So that really, really narrows it down. And you want to look at data, right? So there's lots of tools online. So you're in Houston, so you can use the USPS Every Door Direct Mail tool just to find neighborhoods. You don't have to send direct mail, but you can use that census data to find neighborhoods with high household incomes. Also, just really visual indicators are just like typically good areas are areas like neighborhoods around golf courses, lakes, waterfronts, and typically like up on mountains and hills, like homes with a view. These are typically like higher income areas. Those are the little pockets you want to target. Leave the rest of the city for like Jesse said, like that's the red ocean. That's where everyone's scrambling and fighting over the scraps. Leave them. You're going to waste so much time and money marketing to those people. Just focus on these like premium, high quality neighborhoods and just dominate them.
Yeah, I love it. I think before digital came in, someone had to see your brand. It was like 7 times to even recognize that you exist. And now that we have digital marketing, I think it's over 24 times.
Yeah, we're so saturated with advertisements all the time.
Right.
And the bigger the metro, the bigger the city, the more impressions you have to get for sure.
Yeah. So just think about that for a sec. Somebody has to see your brand 24 times just to recognize you even exist. Right. So if you're doing some marketing right now and you've done something like once or you've done it twice and you're like, oh, this doesn't work. It's like that doesn't make sense. Right. You just need to be doing, there's 3 general ways you can solve the problem. You can do more of it. You can be better at it, or you can do something new. The strategies that we're talking about here, they work. We've had, hundreds of painting contractors go through it. We've done it on our own as well. You just need to do more of it. That's it. And as a byproduct, you also will become better at it. But it's really 99% of the time, you just need to do more. All right. Anything else on that one, Gavin?
No, I think that nails it.
All right. I think that wraps up Brush Busters today. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Go out there, book some work. paint some homes, change some lives, have some fun. And if you want some extra help, come check us out at Painter Growth. Gavin and I are a couple of coaches on the team here and would love to help you grow your business. So come and hang out with us and let's have some fun.
Absolutely. And if you have questions that you want answered, submit your letter. We will happily answer your questions on the next Brush Busters episode.
Perfect. Thanks, guys.
Scaling up the game. Big projects, friends.